If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this episode of Mind Pump.
Special episode in Tahoe.
Coming to you from Tahoe at the Podcast Hard event. Having a great time over here.
Yeah.
So for the first 35 minutes or so, we do our introductory conversation. We start off by talking about the new Felix Gray frames. These are blue blocking glasses you can wear all day long. They're not colorful, so you don't look like a weirdo.
If you're somebody who works on a computer or a phone all day long, this is a must.
So check this out. We do work with Felix Gray. If you go to Felix Gray, Gray spelled Gray, glasses.com/Mind Pump, you'll get free shipping and free returns. Then we talk about face swapping technology.
What?
Kind of scary
John
stuff.
Travolta shit.
Yeah. They're putting Justin.
Sal made it in a porn.
Thank you. Fuck, you got me first.
Gotcha.
Then we talk about vegans wanting to ban animal crackers. That's right. They want to ban animal crackers because they make humans feel like they're superior.
Please stay away from the crackers.
Find out if
That's
we
where I
are.
draw the line.
Yeah.
Okay? Not the crackers.
Then I teach everybody about my new lunge technique. It's kind of working on my lower body. The benefits of focusing on weak movements. Adam says he has none. Then we talk about Organifi's green juice, how it's helping everybody poop regularly while we're traveling. Organifi, of course, one of our favorite sponsors. If you go to Organifi.com/Mind Pump, enter the code Mind Pump, you'll get 20% off. Then we talk about late nights and creativity and the creation of MAPS Anabolic, the insanity that went behind that creation, and Adidas versus Nike and new media. Then we get into the questions.
Controversy.
The first question was, is it possible to achieve the same physical and cognitive benefits of lifting by lifting weights and by body weight training? In other words, if you compare the two, which one's better? Do they give you the same benefits? Are they different? Should you do them both? Find out in that part of this episode.
We covered it.
The next question was, this person has read that children can be predisposed to being overweight based on genetics if their parents, grandparents are overweight as well. Do we believe there's truth to this, and are genetics to blame for our obesity?
You got to blame it on genetics, girl.
Damn, that was, who's that, Milli Vanilli?
Yeah. Blame it on genetics,
There you go. Very good.
There it is, sorry.
And the next question, as three guys in committed relationships, how would we react, or how have we reacted to our significant others wanting to get off hormonal birth control? You know, it's not ideal, but it is convenient. What is our perspective? And what do we do now to prevent our partners from getting pregnant?
I don't want more kids.
On accident. And finally, what exactly is roid rage? Is this a real phenomena that is experienced with steroid use? And did this happen to Adam when he was on the sauce? Sauce. Also, this month, we have released our newest MAPS program, MAPS Strong. It is a strongman
Ding dong, it's strong.
inspired program we designed with Robert Oberst, world's strongest man competitor. By the way, you can do this program in your gym, in your home gym. You just need barbell, dumbbells, adjustable bench, squat rack. So you don't need any special equipment. Although, if you have sandbags and ladders and sleds, we have some variations for you.
You totally use a PRX.
Really, really fun. You can find this new program at mapsstrong.com. And you can find our other MAPS programs and MAPS bundles. This is where we combine MAPS programs and put them together for particular goals. For example, let's say you're a really serious person that wants to get really fit, and you're really smart, and you like to spend your money in the most efficient way possible. Let's just say that's who you are.
That sounds like me, Sal.
You're going to want to get the MAPS Super Bundle. It's a year of exercise programming. So you can find that and our other bundles and all of our other MAPS programs at mapsfitnessproducts.com. Doug, I want to know what you're showing us on the screen right there. I know we're supposed to mention Felix Gray, but what is this? The new lens? What is this? The new frame?
New frame called the Carver.
What colors?
Let's see here. It comes in
They're nice, dude.
mahogany and black.
Like a classy old man.
Explain to me mahogany. Isn't that like a reddish color?
It's a wood.
Yeah, it's a reddish. I think a reddish.
It's a type of wood. It
sounds just regal.
Mahogany.
Mahogany.
It's a very rich colored wood.
It's a very strange word.
So I like my whiskey.
Mahogany.
Mahogany.
I like the Felix Gray glasses because they look really good.
Yeah.
They look the best. I like them when they look good on you, Adam, when you wear them.
I do like them, man.
You wear them the most, I'd say, during the day.
Well, they've been kind of a game changer for me. That's why. I mean, I've been
For what, the headaches?
Yeah, well, I couldn't wait for us to actually talk about it and get him as a sponsor because Taylor introduced him to me quite a while ago, and I had been using them. And before that, I was using the orange ones that you turned me on.
Those are the ones for like super block everything. out of
right,
your
and
face.
they were working. Like I have no.
You don't go out in public with those.
I have no complaints.
no,
I have no complaints. Like they
Some people do.
were doing the job, but the thing that I didn't like was, it's very, very normal for Katrina and I after 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, we're laying in bed watching TV or a movie. And if I got these blue blockers on that are like orange or those I mean, it
changes
distorts the color. Of
Oh
everything,
yeah. And
right?
it ruins the movie experience for me. And that was it was driving me crazy. And sometimes I would say, fuck it, whatever, and discipline myself to still do it just for the better sleep. Right.
Yeah.
But then I was like, fuck that. Well, when Taylor introduced me to these, and then when we called the company and did kind of I didn't understand.
Well, they explain the difference.
Yeah, because I couldn't figure out like how can you do that? How can it be a clear lens and that you get the same benefits?
Yeah.
And when they explain the high blue light,
Yeah, it's basically for anytime you're working on a computer. See, what you don't want to do is you don't want to wear the
Your
hardcore
phone, which
Yeah.
is what I use it for mostly.
Exactly, and you don't want to wear the hardcore blue blockers, the orange ones or the red ones, which are the most powerful
all
ones.
day.
You don't want to wear those all day because it tells your brain it's nighttime,
Right.
and you want your brain to know it's nighttime. Daytime when it's daytime, and you want your brain to think it's nighttime when you're indoors and it is nighttime, but you have electric lights on. So Felix Ray glasses are more suitable for day use. If you work on a computer all day long, like most people, then those are the ones you want to wear because you want your brain to know you should be awake, but you also want to limit your exposure to the harmful blue rays that electronics tend to put off,
And
now they're showing with studies they're always harmful.
What does that look like? Like what is it? What are the
Literally
symptoms?
destroy cells in your eyes, and over time can cause degeneration of your eyesight. So when you
these are some of these things that we weren't really talking about 10, 15 years ago.
no, and our moms were right. Remember that? Don't sit too close to the TV.
Right.
Mom was right again.
Except for the Harry Palms thing.
That's
That
wrong.
didn't play out.
Yeah, trust me.
Yeah,
That's
I
wrong.
got that one a lot.
Justin would have.
I'm like, oof, thank God.
So,
we didn't live in a world or a time where almost all of everything that you need is at your fingertips now in your phone. Even when we saw the introduction of the internet and that was still this big clunky computer at home that you had to wait till you got home and dial up, and it was a whole process. It wasn't like you would lug that around. It wasn't like you were connected staring at a screen all day long. Unless you had a specific job that pertained to that, where now, even if you don't have a job in quote unquote tech, you still are consuming
It's part of everybody's
an abnormal
experience now.
amount of
Yeah.
this tech. And I started to get headaches and shit. And I started to notice the effects of my sleep. And when you turn me on the blue bars, and I remember feeling like such an idiot wearing them because it's like, this is so pseudoscience bullshit I would never do.
no, it's real.
I know.
But I used it, and I would like within an hour, those things would like settle me down and go right to sleep, and I felt amazing.
No, it works.
And what I love about the Felix is I can actually wear them in the day. They don't make me sleepy, but then I don't get the headaches, and I can get ready for bed.
I use them
go
with
right ready.
I have my kids wear them.
Well, it's a reasonable way to kind of combat a lot of the modern, things that modern day lifestyle, what that looks like today. Obviously the ideal is, to follow your circadian rhythms, being more in tune with that process. But, this is going to constantly interrupt, like your daily life now because of the phone, because of your work conditions.
And today I'm not wearing them. I'm not wearing them right now because I'm up in Tahoe. We have these beautiful windows with natural sunlight, and it's gorgeous. And I'm not. We're not really on our phones today. We're interacting with people.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't see the value of me really wearing them all day like a goof. Right. But I do when there's days when all of us.
You look smarter though.
Are plugged into a computer or on our phones for hours on hours on hours. And I do see a lot of value in it.
It is gorgeous up here, though. God, I love Lake Tahoe.
I just like taking deep breaths.
It's got to be one of the most beautiful places. You know what I always forget, though, is the altitude. Because I know we're planning on working out later. And the last time I was in Tahoe, I went to the gym, and I was like, wow, I am not. My stamina
That
is terrible.
endurance, yeah.
But I forgot that the
doozy.
altitude makes a difference.
Big time.
And we're up here for what 5 days or something like that. We work out every 6 days. We work out every day. You'll have a nice little boost in red blood cells by the time we get back. I think that should be enough time, right, Doug? Doug's shaking his head like he knows what I'm talking about.
No, I don't know.
Okay. Anyway,
I'm just agreeing with it. It sounds good.
It might be enough time to
We're gonna
cause
go with
a
that
boost
theory.
in red blood cells. So anyway, dude, you guys, I'm going to change subjects on you. I read this article. I've been saving it, and I was going to show you, Justin, on the way up here, but it's pretty crazy.
Okay.
Dude, have you guys seen the face swapping AI generated like tech that they have now?
I saw the article.
Bro.
Someone posted in our forum. I saw it somewhere.
Bro, it's scary. It used to be, it wasn't that long ago, like a few years ago, where only the most sophisticated tech and people who knew how to use it could do this. But now they have these apps where there's an app, I can't remember the name of it, where you can literally take someone's face if you have good enough pictures of them, and people are face swapping onto porn. So right now there's crazy face swapping porn right now online where you have actresses where people are taking like, famous actresses, putting it on a porn star, and I swear to God, you almost can't tell the difference.
Indistinguishable.
It looks like, oh my God, this is, what's her name from Harry Potter?
Yeah.
That one made a lot of news. What's her name? The girl.
Course.
Yeah, they did one with
Hermione.
Yeah, but I don't know what's her real name. Idiots.
I don't know.
But yeah, this face swapping technology is scary.
Yeah.
They did one with politicians where they got they had an old video of Obama and they made him say a bunch of shit that he'd never said before.
Yeah.
You imagine the freaking. Well,
there's still little bits that you could pick up on as far as it. Like,
it's going to get so much
No,
better.
but they're gonna be able to figure that out.
Now, is this CGI or is this like they're skin graphing it?
No. They're taking a picture,
and then the computer, CGI basically.
Okay, so it's
puts it
CGI
on there.
Yeah, dude. So there was one guy who made a big deal. This guy on Reddit, and I don't know what his name is, but this is what he does. And he face swapped celebrity faces onto porn performers' bodies. And he did one with Gal Gadot. She's the girl from Wonder Woman. He did one with Macy Williams and Taylor Swift. And everybody was like, people shared it at first because they thought they were real. That's how crazy it is, dude.
Wow.
That's how fucking crazy it is.
Well, they did it in the last two Star Wars have been filled with it, right? Didn't they use a lot of actors, Justin? That were
Fake App is one.
I forget the general's name, but they used him like totally artificially CGI like version of him, and they had talks about doing that for the next movie too. Princess Leia likes what General Leia, I should say, but yeah.
Get it right.
Yeah, get it right. Hello. But yeah.
No one would have called him out.
I was just making sure. Cover my bases.
Because you
somebody's going to call me out.
50 DMs
afterwards. Yeah, exactly. I'm so worried about the nerds. But yeah, like they're actually using old footage from the first redo of the entire franchise. So they're able to take enough of those clips and actually put a storyline together with her still. So that's cool because it's weird, it's funky. You see somebody on there and you still know that it's not them. It's the representation of them. It's a computer generated image of them.
Clean enough that.
But it is pretty.
Bro, the
it's
tech
kind of
is
creepy.
It's getting so good, dude.
Well, don't you see the future of actors and actresses just signing a contract? I could see this because once
make a bunch of commercials with my face,
right? Using me, using my voice, using all this stuff like that. Once they've spoken enough things digitally out there, right? Just like ourselves. Imagine every word that I've ever used has probably been used in this podcast over 900 episodes.
Oh, we're screwed. Yeah.
Right. So somebody could
totally
CGI your face and then take you and then use you for marketing, and you just sign the rights to it. Say go ahead, use me how you want, and
sign the rights. The technology is getting so good and it's going to be so cheap that they'll just do it anyway. And there's nothing you could do to stop it.
Well, hopefully have a detection software. Right? That's my hope is that
they create software.
Yeah, they create software to combat it, right? Because otherwise, it's indistinguishable. And how can you prove yourself in a court of law? They can't really use that as evidence, if they catch you on film.
Well, it used to be that video was there was no arguing it. If you had a video or picture of someone doing something that's it. But now people can fake that shit and you can argue and be like, oh, that wasn't me. So I'm not the one that was doing it.
It's so sophisticated.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy when you think about it. But anyway, I was looking at some of the examples. And
who knows? Maybe we're in a porn film right now.
What?
Who knows?
No one wants to take your face.
Of course they do.
Of course they do.
Kidding? You know what I mean?
No. Anyway, I got another article I'll read to you guys, and this one was inspired because at this moment, the debate is going on with Chris Kresser and that vegan scientist on.
Yeah, I saw Justin already watching it.
Yeah, I couldn't help it.
He was already watching them all, but we're all supposed to save it.
I just wanted to see what the energy was, and like if it was going well or not.
Yeah, we watched about 10 minutes of it, and it was really, really good. So
Yeah,
this is this is the title of the article. You ready for this? Vegans want animal crackers banned. Animal crackers banned because they make humans feel superior.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Are we not?
we are exactly. That's my argument.
Are we not?
Yeah, we are superior. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, that's cool. You can love animals all you
Dude,
want.
we're
but
number one.
Yeah, you got to believe that
Humans.
sometimes.
Team
But anyway,
humans.
here's the problem: is that I think they're going to ruin their chances if they keep pushing shit like this. You know what I'm saying? Like
animal
stupid things like-
crackers? Like really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we're not superior.
I thought I got it. I thought
I
I
don't know
heard
when the last time a dog did heart surgery.
Yeah, boom.
That's what I want to do with
Yeah,
one of these people.
right.
You know, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. Don't worry.
I'm gonna
I'll get
lick
this
it.
We're all equal.
Ah,
My dog is going to work on you right now.
this great Labrador. He's really smart.
He's going to run some lab tests on you. Boom.
Did you? No, they
I had to do a
actually
dad
on
joke.
film they have this monkey though that revived another monkey. I don't know if it was
What?
I swear to God, I was watching this documentary and one of the monkeys actually fell on the track of this train and it got electrocuted and it was like out and like completely out. And this other like monkey came back and started giving it compressions and then like shaking it and plunging it in water. And then all of a sudden it came back to life.
To
was
bring
the
it back to
trippiest
life?
thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They have it on film, but that's like, yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Monkeys saving other monkeys'
Yeah.
lives. That's the beginning of the. What's that movie called?
It's
Planet of the Apes?
Planet of the Apes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like those.
Maybe
You guys like
that'll
those?
play out.
Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Did you watch the original one?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
my
you've
dad-
seen the original.
Yeah, of course.
You have
Charlton
to watch,
Heston,
dude.
Yeah.
You have to watch the original. I wish the problem is it's already been spoiled for you. You already know what the ending is. But the original Planet of the Apes was such a fucking well-made sci-fi, one of the best sci-fi movies of all
Yeah.
time. The ending shocked people because you did not expect that to happen. Do you know the story of the original one? So it shows these humans who obviously crashed on a planet because they're astronauts or whatever, and one of them dies. One of them gets captured. The other
Were
one
they
gets
cryogenically frozen and
Yeah.
then came back, right? Like,
yeah. One of them
it was
gets
like
shot in the throat,
hundreds of
so he
years later.
can't talk. But then all of a sudden, he's getting chased by these apes. They shoot him. He can't talk. They capture him, and he gets thrown in these cages with other humans. And none of them can talk, and he can't talk because he got shot in the throat. And all these apes are super smart, whatever. And so the whole movie's going through this whole thing, and he's trying to escape. At the end of the movie, he finally gets away and goes to the banned part of the land or whatever that all the monkeys say don't go to. He goes there, and then he sees a Statue of Liberty that's kind of buried up to its chest sideways, and he realizes that he had been cryogenically frozen on a
Yes.
spaceship, and his spaceship returned back to Earth.
It was still Earth. It wasn't a different planet.
He realized he was on Earth and that humans had destroyed themselves.
Yeah.
Fucking great
Epic.
movie.
And you don't see that coming until the
You
end.
do not
you
see
don't
that coming.
Yeah.
You do not
just
see
think
that
it's
shit
a whole
coming.
nother- you think it's like Star Trek where they landed on another planet.
So when they did the one with Mark Wahlberg, they tried to recreate that a little bit.
Yeah, not really. I mean, they did a bad job.
They did.
I don't like the one with Mark
Yeah.
Wahlberg. I like the recent ones kind of to show the backstory.
Well,
but
it's because they made the monkeys cooler because of the CGI's gotten way better.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they've really been able to nail down like animal movement in a believable way.
yeah. But the original one was the best one. Anyway, I did a new exercise the other day I'd never done before.
Really?
Yeah, I'm surprised.
possible?
Yeah, I know. Well,
What?
in a way that I've never done it before. So you guys know how I've only been doing split stance exercises now for my lower body now for it's probably been about a month and a half or 2 months or so. I haven't done any barbell squats
Against the
whatsoever.
advice of Ripto.
Yeah,
Yeah.
against and because I'm trying to balance myself out because I noticed when I did lunges, there was a discrepancy between my right and left, and I also noticed when I squatted really heavy, sometimes I would get a little bit of pain in my SI joint on my left side. And I know you guys have been talking so much about how like Bulgarian split stand squats increase your squat and all that other stuff. So I've been doing it for a while, and I'm getting better. I'm actually noticing more muscle development. I can't go as intense as I do with squats yet because my form isn't as great yet. So my intensity is like moderate, but I'm still getting good results. But one thing that I did the other day, which I thought which worked really well, is I incorporated some like box squats. You know, when you do box squats, you sit on a box, allow your body to, you still keep your core tight and everything, but you actually relax your legs for a second, stand up to develop that, you know, to eliminate that whatever, what is it called? That reflex, that stretch reflex you get from when you lower weight and come back up. So what I did with the lunge is I took some mats, I put them on the floor, split my stance over the mats, went down into my lunge, kneeled on it, and sat there for 3 seconds and then came back up. So I actually sat at the bottom.
Just no momentum.
Sat at the bottom, stayed tight, got everything ready, activated what I needed to, pulled my knees apart a little bit, got my, you know, my gluteus medius activated a little bit, and then came back up. Wow. What a great, have you guys ever done anything like that with the lunge before?
I haven't timed it like that and used the mats.
Bulgarian squat I have, yeah.
But when I switched over, and this was just a few years ago when I think I told you that I started doing more of the Bulgarian. And I think what really ramped that up for me was the first time that I hung out with Jordan Shallow, and he was just like, oh, this.
He argued for it big time.
Yeah, he did argue for it big time. And so I thought, you know what? I've never done is, as much as I've done the Bulgarian split squat, is I've never actually tried to keep it in my program for a long. It's always been an exercise that I rotate into my routine to give me a break from squats or something. I've never like kept it in my program and tried to progress it. And I absolutely did. And there was a ton of carryover, not just to my squat, but I also noticed a big difference in my legs building. Like I built a lot of muscle from doing that.
That's the thing that it's so here's the crazy, and it's of course this just proves what, you know, I've known through years of training clients and myself. And you always forget, right? You always forget when you apply it to yourself sometimes that if I do a new exercise that I suck at, even though I can't lift as heavy and even though I can't push it as hard, the potential for improvement is so big because it's a new movement that you just get crazy results from it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not going to add 30 pounds to my squat. I've been squatting consistently for years, but I may add 30 pounds to a movement I never do just because I'm getting better at it.
It just shows a whole new landscape, like all new options for you to get better at. That's exactly how I look at it. I don't look at it. I don't stick with what I'm awesome at all the time. It's just, to me, that's just a flawed mentality going into it. I'm there to grow. And so, that is definitely something that, I definitely like assess to see where I could benefit again from going back to doing, Bulgarian squats, doing more unilateral training, doing things that are a little bit more functional, coming back, to bilateral type movements.
Yeah. What about, or what exercises can you say that you suck at? That you think that, okay, I could probably focus on that movement
right now,
there?
probably like core.
Oh, core work.
Yeah. Just because I've been so like total body inclusive, like so lots of compound movements and not much isolation there with the core. And I feel every time I get in it, I get angry, and I know that right away. It's like, oh, I haven't
Do you get
been
the
doing this
shaky?
enough. Yeah, you get shaking, and the thing is, you just know you're not as strong as you could be, and so it's frustrating because you only get a few reps, but then you're like, oh wow, I need to work on this, and that's all I think. It's just okay. Let's put attention here.
What about you, Adam? Is there any that you
Well, I
think
hate to copy Justin, but that's exactly where I'm at right now. So I addressed my ankle mobility and all the limiting exercises there. I addressed my hip and all the limiting exercises there. I did the same thing for my shoulders. All that over the last like 3 to 5 years, I've taken each one of those and put a lot of energy and focus on and progressed it greatly. And I'm very, very happy with my mobility in all those joints. And the one area that I have not addressed that I've known I need to address on myself is my core strength. And I know that's directly correlated with my low back pain when my back bothers me. If I'm not training my core or doing ab work, because I already have that natural tilt.
Yeah, you do have that
if I'm not
butt stick out thing.
And if I don't address it, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Juicy squats.
Like I'm okay. Like I can go about my day and be fine. But if I'm not training my abs and core to counter that, and I notice I feel amazing when I actually put it into my regimen. So that is something that I'm neglecting right now, and it's just tedious, dude. It's tedious work that I know I need to do.
Yeah, the what made the biggest difference for me with core training was oblique training. When I started really hitting my obliques with like rotation and resistance with rotation, I noticed a huge difference with all my lifts. Like I just felt so solid and strong. And your body is always limited by the weakest link. So however strong you are, what's limiting you is the weakest part of you. Right. So rather than focusing on the strongest part of you to increase your lift, sometimes focusing on those weak parts, and then you'll notice those lifts.
And if it takes more energy for you to stabilize, that's a discrepancy. That's something that, your body's has to account for that while then also trying to perform the movement. So if you can eliminate that, get stronger there, you don't have to allocate as much, energy and resources in that direction, and you can focus on the lift.
Yeah. No, for me, it's unilateral stuff and higher rep stuff. Higher rep stuff's always something I always hate. And then doing the unilateral stuff. And what got me doing a lot of good unilateral stuff was some of the exercises in MAP Strong, where you're doing these, dumbbell presses where one is staying in one position, the other one's, and that was really good. The higher rep stuff with the AMRAP, so like the AMRAP overhead presses that there are in the work sessions, like really, that higher reps, because I never really play in that
challenging.
It's challenging, but I get progress, I get results out of it.
Yep.
I start to see my body change. So it just always reminds me that sometimes getting into those uncomfortable positions, with your training, just make the biggest impact. I did that years ago with pull-ups. A long time ago, I was
sucked at those for a while
super row, dominant. Always did rows, always did deadlifts, always did rows, always did deadlifts. And it got to the point where I could barbell row, with decent form, 300 pounds, but I could do, 12 pull-ups, and that was it. And I remember thinking like, oh, there's a little bit of a problem here. So I made it a focus of doing lots of pull-ups and a lot of weighted pull-ups, and the back development I got from it was just incredible. And the way, of course, everything else felt.
Well, I've never met a trainer, a client, a bodybuilder that I think it's just in us. We're always going to naturally gravitate to the things that we enjoy, we like, or that we're good at. And I don't think anyone listening to this podcast right now, I mean, maybe, and if they are, you're the 1%ers. Because maybe I've met a handful of people that can honestly say, I'm really good about phasing my programming and getting myself out of a rep range and changing my tempo up and doing it in a structured way. I meet a lot.
Yeah, not just throwing.
Right. I meet a lot of people that be like, oh yeah, no, I changed my rep ranges up. Oh yeah, no, I changed all this stuff. I'm like, well, how do you do it? And it's just like, oh, sometimes I do this exercise this way. And it's like,
do you do it long enough to get your body to get good at it?
Right. Do you do it long enough to get the benefits of the? And I'm definitely guilty of this. I was notorious for being somebody who would say exactly that. Like, yes, I do all those things and I vary all that. But what I'm bad at is actually structuring it, committing to 3 to 6 weeks of training a certain way and measuring that, then moving out of it. And it's tough because right when you need to be moving out of it is right when you're seeing the most results and loving it. You're getting good at it.
Starting to enjoy it.
The body's adapting to it. You're getting good. You're seeing results. You're loving it. And so it's really easy to enjoy that and carry that on for weeks and months and some people years.
This is one of my number one arguments for resistance training. We talk a lot about how resistance training is, we consider the best form of exercise, and it's the one form of exercise everyone should be doing. Not the one form of exercise, only form of exercise you should be doing, but the one you absolutely should be doing in conjunction with other stuff. And one of my arguments is there is no form of exercise that is modifiable and adjustable as resistance training. Nothing comes close. Every other form of exercise fits within this kind of structured, lattice that you have to follow. In other words, like swimming is a form of exercise, but swimming when you see it and it looks a particular way, and that's it. You can't really modify it too much. You can modify it, but not too much. Running is like that. Pilates is like that. Yoga is like that. All forms of exercise are like that. Resistance training is more of a philosophy than anything, and resistance just training refers to just using resistance. And I can train anybody with resistance. I don't care how disabled you are, tall, short, fat, what your goals are, if it's endurance, stamina, strength, power, whatever. Resistance training I can mold it and shape it to maximize your progress and results for whatever you're looking for and for whatever type of body type you have.
It's not even just that. There's not a single pursuit that strength training does not have carryover into whatever.
It'll benefit everything.
Name a pursuit. I don't care if you want to be some yogi and that's all you want to do is strength training. There's benefits from strength training that will carry over into that pursuit. There's not a single pursuit that you could potentially want to do for your body, right? Whether it be overall health or performance, that strength training does not have major carryovers for that. More carryovers than almost any other single thing.
And again, because it's modifiable. I could train a yogi with resistance to improve their yoga. A yogi who goes and does long distance running may not get that much of an improvement. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's very modifiable. I can scale it. I can change it for anybody, especially when you talk about free weights. They fit anybody's body. You don't have to be any shape or size to work with free weights, especially when they're applied properly. And again, it's my favorite thing about it is, here's the deal. Like, all of the MAPS programs are designed around resistance training, and we design them in a way where if you're really, this is the way we're thinking, right? We think of the ultimate listener. Like, okay, who's the ultimate listener that's listening to our podcast? It's somebody that really values maximizing their body's health, mobility, strength, everything. Just wants to maximize how they feel. So the way we designed the MAPS programs was to take you through all these different ways of using resistance training, and all of them benefit you. So you could train with a strongman inspired program like the one we released this month. You could train with MAPS Anabolic, which is more of your straight strength type program. You could train with MAPS Performance, which is more for athletic mobility type stuff, and aesthetic, which is your bodybuilder type stuff. And your body will benefit from going through these different modalities, but you're using resistance in all of them.
Right.
It's the form of exercise that it's that one tool that you can use. It's like that. It's like a Swiss Army knife, except everything you pull out is an effective version of it. Not like a Swiss Army knife where you pull out the screwdriver and it sucks.
Scissors that you never use.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Who uses those scissors?
No,
I don't know.
Does anyone use those scissors?
Clip your toenails
Yeah, what do
with
you
them, maybe.
cut with
That's
that?
like a roach clip. That's what that is.
Is that what they're?
It's gotta be. That's about all you
Yeah.
could use it for.
What were roach clips used for back? Was that just so you didn't get the? Yeah, I know what they're used for a joint, but why were they a big deal? Just hold the joint.
Well, get every bit of it.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, for sure.
That's back when cannabis was
like you couldn't get it.
super
easily.
hard to get.
Yeah, getting a joint's a big deal.
Now you look at a joint, you smell it, like, this one's, this one's
feel
2
like
days old.
Yeah.
Throw it away. Get the new one.
Stuff
half
it
of
out.
one, throw it away. So Organifi is getting ready to make a freaking Halloween flavor. They're gonna do I think pumpkin spice.
Oh, they're gonna change for what? A green juice?
the gold. The gold.
Oh,
The gold. I think they're gonna make like a pumpkin spice. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say that or not because I don't know if it's actually released. But when I was talking to the guy on the,
we might have to bleep this out.
fuck it.
All right.
What's it? Can we get a slap on the wrist?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's be honest. The person who probably would say no to that is probably not even listening to the podcast. So they probably have somebody else, some other intern. And by the time it probably gets out to them, hopefully it'll be
Their
that.
green juice is a lifesaver when we travel because we don't eat fucking vegetables at all.
We don't
I
eat.
know.
and we don't eat.
We don't eat at all.
And when we do, it's you know what I mean. It's not that good. And the
Right.
green juice keeps me pooping.
I don't know what trip it was when we first started using it, and it definitely keeps me.
Oh, I know. It was when.
You do remember that?
Yeah, we were. It was at Paleo FX, wasn't it, Doug?
Oh yeah, right.
And they gave us in the goodie bags.
Yeah.
They gave us green juice packets.
Oh, was this before?
Well, what helps
was
is
this
the
before?
packets. Yes,
That's last
single serving packets that
Yes.
really solidify.
And this
that.
was before we were sponsored with them.
Oh, this was
And we're
before.
all super skeptical with supplement. We are probably the worst people to approach with supplements because we
I did
automatically
not know how they were so persistent,
dude, we automatically think your product sucks. That's our we automatically
That's our
default to.
go-to.
But Doug was the one to use it. Remember, we were all there, we were eating terribly.
You're right.
And Doug's like, you guys got to try this green powder and that they gave us from this company or whatever. And all of us were kind of shrugging it off. By the end of the trip, it was gone, and we were fighting each other over each one of them. So
Well, it tastes pretty good. That's why too. I mean, out of all the green
they
juice,
figured that out,
yeah,
which was a lot helpful.
it did. But it does help the pipes moving. You know what I mean?
Is that so? When you're off on your diet, like when we travel, is that the first thing that you notice? Is like your stool is off really bad?
Oh yeah, I'll alternate. So it's like, I'm not going like I normally should, and then it goes in the opposite direction.
See, I get puffy and lethargic. That's what I feel.
You get really
Yeah,
like you hold water.
yeah,
Oh, and you just start feeling kind of tired.
yeah.
Did you go to bed late last night? Or did you get some good sleep?
It was pretty late.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that. Yeah,
Yeah, I stayed up
I was
pretty late.
tired, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
I forget who I was talking to late last night. I was talking to
You never go to bed on time.
Probably
don't.
Mike.
Ever.
I know.
Probably
You're like a
sleeping
kid.
around.
Well, I was. It's funny. Eli was out talking to me by the fire yesterday, and he asked about. It was funny because he was prompting some video clips, and he asked about like morning routines, and I'm like, dude, I'm the worst guy for that, so it really. It forced me to kind of evaluate like why that is. And I have an idea of why I'm so anti that. Because I was managed by somebody who was an ex-Marine for so many years. And he was so much about morning routine,
Regiment.
rituals and this and that. And I just, one of my favorite books that I read was First Break All the Rules.
Yeah.
and I come from a different camp.
So you're like, fuck it, I'm breaking up.
Right.
I think we all share that sentiment.
And that's not to knock those out there that have found a morning routine that they do that it definitely makes their life better. I know lots of motivational speakers speak to that. I've found a way to be very successful with not having great mornings. And
super honesty, right?
It's what it is. And when someone asks me a question like that, and I know he was searching for like a hype answer, like, I get up and I have my coffee, and then I have this, and then I read
myself,
and then I meditate, and then I Juve light, and like I have all these like. No, what I do normally is whatever time, and because my time fluctuates. Sometimes I have to be up by 6 a.m. because I got something going on really early. Sometimes I get to sleep in all the way till 7:30 or 8. Rarely ever later than that. But my goal is to wake up as close to possible to that time.
Yeah.
Before
I treasure sleep.
Yeah, I do.
It's my highest of priorities.
And I'm also highly productive at night. At my most creative times. So when you talk about visions and within the business and ideas, and I write a lot at nighttime, so I get a lot of that out.
So I'm very much like you. I've trained myself to go to bed early and wake up early because it works better with my schedule, with kids, with all that stuff. But if I was left to my own devices, right? I love staying up till the twilight hours of the evening. I get very creative. I get very hyper. I have the best conversations. And then sleeping in and then getting up and taking my time. That's my natural tendency, but I've had to train myself to do the opposite.
So what do you think? Do you guys think that that's good or bad? Do you think I really believe it's a very individualized thing. I think
so they've done studies on this, and they find that that those are the most creative hours. When they interview authors and scientists and whatnot, that they tend to come up with their ideas like after midnight. It's those late hours that they tend to do that. Now, I know when we travel, we tend to go to bed late because that's what happens. 10 o'clock rolls around, 11 o'clock rolls around. What are we always doing? We're sitting around and we're having really, really good conversation, and nobody wants to go to bed.
Right.
And I've just trained myself to be like, all right, guys, I gotta go to bed. Otherwise, because then we got the problem. Like here, like we're in Tahoe right now. We're doing the podcast heart event. The first podcast started at 8 a.m., which means we need to be up and ready, everything ready to go by 7.
Right.
Yeah. So we can't be going to bed late. Otherwise, we're going to be we're going to kill ourselves. So, but it's funny watching you because you're like a kid, man. Like trying to get you to go to bed is like it's like having a kid.
No.
Well, fucking go to bed.
That creativity thing is interesting, though. Like after it does get like sort of after hours, because I've experienced that multiple times, and it's like when you get to past sort of a certain point, you get loopy and you get kind of like silly. Just because you're so tired, but it's like then it's like almost like your command center, right? Like the prefrontal cortex, like you're just like you kind of put that on, like autopilot or something. I don't know. It's like I can think differently, like when I'm a little.
I think that's
relaxed.
what it is, because creativity literally is defined by thinking differently, and so I think when you're up late and you're tired, you are thinking differently and you see things a little bit differently. And so you start to think of...
It's also very quiet and there's not a lot of distractions, and I'm completely in my mind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? In the daytime with people talking...
There's not any distractions.
Getting up early, stuff like that. And maybe if you're up at 4:30, it's pretty quiet.
Yeah,
Very distractions.
So probably mirror to that.
I think there's really... there's two types of people and then everything in between, right? I really believe that there's people but that's why I think it's funny when you see a lot of ththese guys that write books around it and they make a big deal around it. Like,
well, maybe we write a book called How to End Your Day.
Or How to Not Be Structured.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that, we have people within this company that are like this, that I know are much more creative than they are structured, and allowing that creative freedom to go to flow when it wants to flow, and not try and force it and organize it. They perform better. And then there's other people who don't have that creative side, and so
you have to treat them differently.
And so they need to create systems, and they need to create.
And that's the team. That's why you have to have both on your team.
You do need both.
I am not you guys know me. I am not a structured person, but I can be very. Dude, when Maps Anabolic I created that at fucking 2:00 in the morning. I wrote it was probably 1 a.m. till 6 a.m. that I wrote the entire program, and it was all spurred on by one article and half a joint. And I was literally midnight. I read this article in New England Journal of Medicine, and I'm like, holy shit, this is interesting. And 5 hours later, I wrote the program, and I called Doug that next day, and I'm like, I got the program that I think we can put online and sell, and I think it's fucking awesome, and I'm going to test it, and you're going to test it, and I'm going to have people test it, and we'll see what happens. But it was literally middle of the night, kids are sleeping, I'm up by myself, and I'm just going crazy.
Oh,
you know?
my iPhone nuts or my iPhone nuts.
Your iPhone nuts. my iPhone nuts are ringing right now. I'll tell you what.
His iPhone's got balls.
Yeah.
My iPhone notes.
That's a little Freudian slip there.
Yeah, it was right there. My big iPhone,
My iPhone
notes.
must be hanging low.
Have you guys seen the new Jack in the Box commercial? I fucking love their advertising.
No.
I have such an appreciation. Talk about a company that I don't even give money to or care two shits about, but I have such an appreciation.
They know their market.
Yes, and they do such a
they're
good
geniuses.
God, they're so good. His latest one is like they have these new. He's promoting his teriyaki bowls, and if you can imagine, bowls sounds like balls. And so the whole commercial is like, you gotta try my balls. Look at my balls. And it's just so good, dude. He does such a good job.
You know why those fast food places target men so much? Because they care less about healthy eating.
I know.
They do. They care less about healthy, and they've identified that.
Right. Yeah.
So now these fucking fast food companies go after these young men.
Men and stoner men.
Yeah, because they know that those are the guys that are going to buy it.
When you see great marketing, and you see this with beer, a lot of beer companies have some great. You have great marketing companies that are not only great at marketing at that time and era, but they also evolve with times. That's what I find impressive. So when you see a company like Jack in the Box, like some of these beers, like. They've lasted 20, 30, 40, some years, more.
Because they stay relevant.
Because they do. They stay relevant. They know how to evolve their marketing. And it's really, I love.
A lot of thought goes into that. That's why it is totally respectable. Because I know so many businesses that just stay completely flat and like where they are right now is what they're going to ride out.
Oh, a lot of them are still there right now. And we're banking on a lot of companies finally figuring it out. And which is what really Mind Pump Media is all about and this weekend is an example of what we're really trying to evolve to is this ability to create incredible top-notch quality content for brands and companies that we align with and we like. And I think that this is going to be the future of advertising for a lot of companies because just a lot of them haven't figured out the conversion.
Well, the future is working with social media and new media influencers.
Right. And
you have to.
And an example of that we see in big company like Nike and Adidas. So Nike has remained kind of the same and Adidas has adopted that and has evolved. And for in the last, 5 to Taylor.
Is Adidas surpassing him?
Yes.
Which is crazy because Nike was the behemoth.
Right. And now I don't know what happened. I know Nike with the Colin Kaepernick thing. I forgot. I should have brought the stats.
Well, the last time I looked, they got more sales.
Yes.
As a result of that.
Did they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
of course.
They sold out.
Controversy either way is. Yeah,
so that was a win for Nike all the way around.
Yeah.
Regardless of where you stood on it politically, and if you were one of the silly people that got caught up in making a big deal about it politically, it was all about making money.
Yeah, it's money,
and they did a great job.
Yeah,
right. Because you
played right off of it.
Because you argued about it or you burned your shit.
Yeah, brilliant.
This Quah is brought to you by Organifi. For those days you fall short on getting your organic veggies or whole food nutrition, Organifi fills the gap with laboratory-tested certified organic superfoods to help give your health and performance the added edge. Try Organifi totally risk-free for 60 days by going to Organifi.com. That's Organifi.com. And use the coupon code MINDPUMP for 20% off at checkout.
All right, our first question is from Like a Stranger. Is it possible to achieve the same physical and cognitive benefits of lifting weights by using only body weight exercises?
Did you say cognitive and what else?
And physical benefit. Basically, can you get the same results from body weight training as you can from weight training?
The same, no. Can you get lots of results? Yeah.
Cognitive. I could see a lot of.
You'll argue
there.
You can.
You know what? I'll argue you can, but here's why I understand where you're coming from, and here's why I also agree with you. You can because resistance is resistance, right? So anytime you're training with resistance, it really doesn't matter if it's
there's gravity,
a weight, or your body, or whatever. Your body, it adapts to that resistance. Here's why I also agree with Adam. Moving your body around space and being creative enough to hit your body from the same kinds of angles and whatever. It's just so much more difficult with your body. And also your body weighs one weight. You know what I'm saying? So like I can, if I'm doing overhead presses, theoretically I could say is doing handstand push-ups hits the shoulders the same way as overhead presses. But most people don't have the strength to press their body weight up in the air. So they can go much lighter, and weights are very moldable and modifiable, just like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, you could. I mean, you could play devil's advocate a little bit to that, with body weight training, and that I know I could come closer to my body's like capacity. So like as far as me being in tune with my body on another level, like connected wise. So I can communicate better from fingers to toes. Like I can control my body in ranges in space and movement patterns like much more effectively once, I've established like where I am in space, my proprioception, how to manipulate forces against me. And, so it's a totally different mentality, but then to build off of that, you have to have weights.
You do. And then here's the other thing too, like some exercises, let's say you want to build maximum strength and size in your legs. Okay. With body weight, I mean, I guess you could go to the point where you're doing one-legged pistol squats and stuff like that, but you're limited by your resistance again.
Right.
I can get under a barbell and theoretically I could squat 400 or 500 pounds. You can't simulate that with just your body weight.
Yeah, no, I could argue that the body weight thing is a safer and maybe even better for a lot of people. Like I could argue that part, but if
almost would be cool as a prerequisite, right?
Right, but to get the same, no. But here's how the way I would answer this question is I say if someone asked me a more this question more specific, which would be, Adam, if you had the same person, same genetics, right, and you had them for 16 weeks. And one person you can only use body weight, and the other person you can use resistance training. Who do you get the most results for?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Weights.
That's a very easy. Now, so asking the way he's asking, it's a little more vague, and so we can have this dialogue on and make debates on why body weight training can be more. And because I tell you what, when you look at some of the most healthiest joints out there, like your gymnast and people like that, like you want to talk about people that have great strength and control their body
and that keep that
right, and they
maintain it for a lot longer.
Right, and so there's something to be said about that. But even that person, if you had them at day one and you had the option and the goal,
you did it right? You have to have good application,
right? And your goal was who can build the most muscle in the next 16 weeks. That person still loses, right? So they lose to the person who has the resistance training.
Now they did say cognitive benefits, and I like that they said that because there is a very distinct adaptation difference between closed chain movements and open chain movements. When I'm lifting weights, I'm balancing and moving a weight away from my body, for example. When I'm doing body weight movements, I'm manipulating my body in space. And they both work and train the brain differently. They do it now they both have their own benefits. So one isn't better than the other, but they both work different parts of your brain. And I think if you want to maximize because there are real cognitive benefits to learning how to do new movements and control new movements. Because when you're doing those, people think you're just training the muscle. Like, oh, great, you added 30 pounds to your squat, or great, you could do a handstand push-up now. Your muscles are much stronger. Yes, your muscles did get stronger, but there's a lot more that's going on there. Your brain literally had to create new neural pathways to learn how to manipulate that weight and control that weight and to fire the muscles in the right way and to understand where your body is in space. That's a great one with body weight movements. Like when I'm lifting weights, my body's always in typically the same position. I'm either standing, sitting, or laying down. There's really nothing else. When you're doing body weight movements, you're upside down, you're sideways, you're twisting. Sometimes you're doing all of those things in one movement all at the same time. And that's a real skill. You can see expressed in extreme forms.
Well, you could break it down just from motor control. I mean,
that's right.
The amount that requires so much more brain power to do that than it does to do a bench press.
Much more.
And you're talking about like open and closed chain. I love that. Like taking that as far as like, external forces versus, intrinsic forces, like intrinsic force.
Another good point.
Production, which is, I feel like a gigantic step people skip right past.
Well, this is the magic in Maps White and why it blows everybody away.
Yeah.
Maps Anywhere was, we did some of that in there that when I think of a cool bodyweight program, and we were all really proud of that. We just didn't market it very well.
Right.
Yeah. We didn't market it.
Because we know it's not a popular concept. It's not something that people are like jumping up and down to receive, but it's very valuable. It's going to help you like tremendously.
Everybody that if you've used 2 or 3 of our traditional programs to take a piece of Maps White, even if you don't go all the way through it and insert it into your programming. you'll get some great benefits because of the types of exercises and movements that we've included in that are so unique to what we're talking about right now.
But proprioceptive ability is a very important ability to develop. Now, a lot of your balance is dependent on that. It's dependent on strength as well, but your ability to step off the wrong step and catch yourself and know where you're at, or, an extreme version, by the way, of this, for people wondering what that means, is you ever watch high-level competitive diving? And you watch these people jump off a diving board and spin and twist their body in space and then know when to point their body upside down in the right angle to produce the least amount of splash.
It's almost superhuman.
It's that's
crazy.
An extreme form of it. You take any one of the average person and you spin them around, they have no idea where they're facing,
where are you gonna end up?
what's going on.
Well, think about that. What's happening, and even subconsciously, and that's why you can make the argument about the body weight being more beneficial cognitively, is because the amount of math that the brain is having to compute.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what's going on.
That is how, and in order to do a somersault, spin, twist, whatever you call those dives, 6 times and hit the water with that, your brain is doing highly complicated math at a super fast rate that you don't even.
It's all predictive,
yes,
right? And it's just like that example with throwing a baseball at an infant. It's crazy because there's so much math that goes into that to learn to be able to catch the ball. So you, obviously you don't want
I would have to say, when it comes to building muscle and burning body fat, weights probably have the edge. When it comes to producing functional results where, everyday life moves easier, you're stronger, less risk for injury, joints are healthy, proper body weight training probably edges out free weights. Now, the real answer is this, and this is why one thing I hate about questions like this is it forces you to do the whole either or thing. But the reality is
both of them belong.
Both.
There. Yep.
You need to be doing both. If you want best, I don't care if it's muscle growth or functional, progress.
They're both valuable.
Do them both. There's a lot of value in both. And look, I'll give you an example. Here's a great example. Lat pull down versus a pull up. Okay. Now, technically, it's the same movement. Technically, I'm bringing the arms down by my sides, whether I'm sitting on a bench and pulling a weight down, or I'm holding onto bars and pulling my weight up. But experience tells us, because I can tell you right now, you talk to anybody who's been working out for years, does a pull up versus a pull down, do they feel different? They feel very different. It's a different feel. It's a different skill. A lot
more stabilization has to happen with the rest of your body. There's all kinds of factors.
And both of them give you great results. And I hate comparing them head to head because I would say do them both.
Yeah.
One does not replace the other one.
But I highly recommend to someone like that, especially when they ask a question like this, is to, focus on one for a while because you're trying to tease something else. You're looking to see which one gives you a cognitive boost. Well, find out.
Yeah.
Find out, and actually give yourself a dedicated amount of time where you actually just strength train, pay attention if you notice benefits that way, and that's all you're looking at and measuring. You're not looking at muscle being gained. You're not looking at performance. You're not looking at anything else other than you're trying to boost your cognitive function. That's all you're trying to do. And then you move over and you do all body weight stuff and see which one you notice the most from.
That's right.
More than likely, the changing of whichever direction is what you're gonna feel.
Just because it's different.
Right, just because it's different. So
it's a whole new skill you have to learn, a whole new pathways you have to create and all that stuff. I tell you what, though, exercise in general, and specifically resistance training, gives you a cognitive boost right away, in my experience, right away. If you're at work and you're just feeling, like I can't think or whatever, do some squats and some push-ups or whatever. Give yourself about 5 to 10 minutes. Sit back down at your desk and watch what happens.
Yeah.
Next question is from A. Yauk96. I have read that children can be predisposed to being overweight based on genetics if their parents, grandparents, etc. are overweight as well. Do you believe there is some truth to this?
Ooh.
Genetics has become...
This is touchy.
It is. Genetics is the favorite excuse for any health problem. We need to be very clear here, okay?
I would first look to lifestyle.
If you go back, look, I'll tell you something right now, okay? I got my first personal training certification about 20 years ago, okay? So 20 years ago, I got my first, not that long ago. We're talking a generation ago, not that long ago. When I got my first certification, it taught us, different aspects of health, and one of the things it talked about was diabetes. And they taught us the 2 different types of diabetes. And the way they communicated it was there's type 1 diabetes, and then there's adult onset diabetes. That's what they called it. And they called it adult onset because you got it as an adult through poor lifestyle and poor health. Now, about, 8 years later, they stopped calling it adult onset. It's no longer, and you can test this out if you don't believe me. Get a medical journal that's 20 years old, and you'll see it doesn't say type 2 diabetes. It says adult onset. About 8 years after I got my first certification, everybody was calling it type 2. Why? Children started to get it. Look at childhood obesity. If you go back 50 to 100 years, it was almost non-existent. It was pretty much non-existent that children were obese. Today, 17% of American children are obese, and over 30% are overweight. And that's triple what it was in the 1970s alone. So it's just, we're talking about crazy numbers. This isn't, our genes didn't fucking change that quickly. Our lifestyle did.
Now that in playing devil's advocate, you absolutely, genetics play a role.
Yes.
And there are people that put on body fat faster, and it's in their genetics. Their parents are the same way too. But what I've found in my experience is almost always that same person that has a disadvantage has an advantage somewhere else. And that same person normally is also the same person who touches weights and they just build muscle.
That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? They eat one cheeseburger and they put on body fat, but if they touch weights, they also build muscle really easy. They struggle with the body fat. And then the opposite. Mm-hmm. The guys or the girls that always struggled with putting weight on, and they couldn't put muscle on, they couldn't build. I also tell them to look at a treadmill and fat just falls off their body.
Sure.
The grass is normally greener on the other side. So I do believe that genetics play a role and that we're all at some sort of a disadvantage, but I also believe that we're all at some sort of an advantage.
Well, genetics will account for, 10 to 20 pounds difference. Like the differences in varying, and I'm talking about for people when you control for height. So if the same height or whatever, yes, someone will be genetically fatter and someone will be genetically thinner. And if they ate the same and did all the same movement, you're looking at 10 or 15 pounds, not 50, 60 pounds. That's not your genes.
Yeah, 100 pounds.
That's your lifestyle. And the reason why this is so hard to control for, by the way, is when you take a person whose whole family is overweight and they grow up and they're overweight, they all have the same lifestyle. So it's very hard to control for genes here. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, my parents were fat, therefore I'm fat. Yeah, but you also eat the same way your parents did, and you grew up that way.
It's just hard not to see that immediately. That's just the first thing I would think of is, what sort of lifestyle habits have been established even in utero? Like what are the decision making?
That's a great point.
Process like going into the world. Like, there's just so many factors. Yes, genetics, of course, but like there's epigenetics. There's ways of expressing these, genes that will obviously turn into a certain direction.
Yeah, who is it that says this? I think it might be Rob Wolf that says this, that genetics is the bullets that are in the gun.
Yeah, it is Rob.
And
there it is.
And you're the way you live is pulling the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And so you may be predisposed for certain things, but your lifestyle is what sets these things in motion to start happening for you. For the most part, there are those rare occasions where you have this genetic variants where it's like there's nothing nothing that we know that you could do about
there's
it.
Something limiting you from even walking, or there's just certain things that of course you're going to have to account for that. But
let me go in this direction though. Okay, so what?
Right.
So what? Okay, your genes make you fatter.
There's
now
always
what?
something you can do.
You can't change that.
Well,
so now what?
And again, I believe in my experience that that person, maybe forget about the muscle building thing. Maybe that person processes information faster.
Right.
And processing information faster, learning about your body and learning is an advantage. For every disadvantage you have, you probably have some advantage somewhere else.
But when you
try
say your
focusing
body
on that instead of focusing on the
your
disadvantage.
body just naturally, like if you have a limitation, it allocates resources in another direction to make those other traits, better, right?
Well, let me ask you this, right? So, Adam, you and I were both ectomorphs, like super hard to gain muscle, right? So we had that genetic disadvantage, if you will, where we just couldn't build muscle as easily as other people. And I know this is true for me, but I'll ask you this. Do you think you would have been as awesome as a trainer or who you are now on the podcast if you didn't have to really fucking learn?
Forced me to learn.
Exactly.
And that became an advantage.
Exactly.
That's what I mean by that is people need to learn to reframe their genetic situation. Okay. Yes, there are genetic freaks out there, but if I spent my whole life talking about my genetic,
disadvantage.
Yeah, disadvantage because this person, like, you know what, you're right. If you're already with that mindset and that you're just choosing that you're going to be fat because of that, you probably are going to be. Whether you think you will or won't, you're probably right.
Well, I think people confuse it with the whole it's my genetics, so I'm just going to love myself and accept myself. And there's a confusion here going on. Now, first off, you should love yourself but in the real sense. And when you really love yourself, you want to take care of yourself. Look, if you have a child, if you have a pet that you really, really care about, you're going to feed them in a way that's going to, and take care of them in a way that's going to make them healthy. You're not going to have a pet that's obese and you lock them up in a cage and don't make them move. That doesn't show that you love your pet. That shows that you don't really care and love. If you really cared about this pet, you would feed them right, have them move. You would challenge them sometimes gave them what they needed and sometimes give them what they wanted. And that's what you need to do with yourself. And that's where people get confused. It's the whole like, well, I don't want to hate myself for being overweight and it's just my genetics. No, I don't want you to hate yourself. I want you to really fucking care about yourself in the real sense and really care. Your the way you appear in some senses is an outward reflection of kind of how you take care of yourself a little bit. And somebody who tends to not care about themselves a lot, many times you can tell with their posture, their health, whether or not they're overweight, many of these things because they're just not caring for themselves. And that's really what it boils down to, is that authentic caring about yourself and also realizing that
it's just a better look.
Yeah. And realizing some things you can't control. You can't control your genes. You didn't pick who your parents were or whatever. And you're born and now you got your genes. And what are you going to do now with that?
That's right. Reframe it.
That's it.
Next question is from Andrea. As 3 guys in committed relationships, how would you react, or how have you reacted to your significant others wanting to go off hormonal birth control and shifting to more natural options? I know it's not ideal, but it is convenient. Would love your perspective.
When I first started, so I was married for a long time, right? So we didn't use any type of, contraceptive or birth control. But then I got divorced and I, met Jessica, fell in love, and we started dating. And at the time, she was using the IUD, right? Mm-hmm. And that was our form of birth control. She started having some kind of issues with it and wasn't feeling that good or whatever. And here's the deal: like, I have to respect my partner's wishes for their health. And the reality is, when you take hormones, however low the risk is or whatever, it is going to have an effect on your health. It's no different than me taking testosterone. It's no different than anybody else taking any of the hormone. It's going to change things, the way things work in the body. And so if they want to be healthy and it's their body, then so be it. We just have to take other precautions then. We have to, either use the pull-out method or do a remeasure body temperature or use condoms or whatever. But that's the thing. And, for a long time, we've been telling women that there's like almost no risk with birth control or whatever. A lot of women are saying, not true. They're saying, man, I felt terrible when I was on them. Then when I went off, it took me 6 months to regulate my body or whatever. You're kind of getting a little bit of pushback now with that kind of therapy.
Yeah, it's one of those things too that like I'm doing more of the research. I was scheduled to do the vasectomy and go through that whole process and everything to get completely off the birth control, because we're both in a position now where it's like, I don't want her on any hormones like this IUD and everything else. It's like, I know that has significantly shifted, like, even like sex drive and motivation in the gym, like all these types of things. Like it's not like something I could prove, but I know my wife enough to know that it's affecting her in a certain way. And it's on the forefront, but at the same time, like I'm just nervous about, like, because we're good. Like we you don't want
to get that surprise.
Yeah, dude. Like that already happened. Like she was on birth control on our first kid, and it's just, it happens.
Wait, she was on birth control and got pregnant with your first?
Yeah. And so we had to switch.
You guys are
that
fertile.
one up. Yeah, exactly. So I'm worried. Like I need to take care of this. But so it's.
Do you do the pull out method on top of it, or are you just?
This is getting real personal.
Yeah. Well, if you throw layers, you got to throw layers.
Sometimes I'll suck at the ceiling. Like, on a good day.
He's like, show me. What's it like? What exactly? What's the face you make?
Yeah. I was like, oh, yeah. No,
because pull out method.
No, I have used it a few times.
Yeah, pull out method done properly is actually effective. The problem is user error is terrible.
User error. I know you're an advocate of this for sure.
Yeah.
You might have to do a guide on it. So
a guide? It's actually pretty basic.
Okay.
Yeah, right before you pull it out. That's about it.
Okay.
No, it's interesting. People argue this and debate this, but there's studies. They're very clear. They've done several of them, many of them actually. Well, they'll show here's a great one. when women are on birth control, they tend to be attracted to different kinds of men than when they're off birth
Yeah, I
control.
remember that.
So did
That's
you know?
very interesting to me.
Did you know that and they need to do more studies on this? But there was one that I read where when women meet a guy while they're on birth control and they fall in love and get married, and then the women go off birth control, the divorce rate goes up a little bit.
Yep.
Because I think and what they're
They're
theorizing.
attracted to something a little different.
What they're theorizing was like, oh fuck, I don't like this guy that much anymore. I met him when I was on birth control. Now I'm off, and yeah, I like the gardener. He's a lot hotter.
That's interesting. So Katrina turns 38 this year, and she's never used birth control
in her life.
So never used birth control in her life. And a lot of people thought I was crazy because for the first 6 of our 8 years, I used a rubber. And everyone, what?
God, I haven't heard it called a rubber in so long.
It's just like, throwback.
Sorry,
Yeah.
that's my medical term there. So, I had for 6 years I
Trojan
used
gold
condoms, and it's never been a big deal to me. I mean, and Katrina and any other woman I've ever met in my life, the best part of sex is the 45 minutes of foreplay that leads up to sex.
So true.
And so I think being somebody who's always been protected and prided himself on being someone like that, and that was not a big deal in our relationship, it's actually just forced me to be even better in that area, which is I think only enhanced my sex life. So if you're a male and you have a girl who's considering this and you're concerned, and you're selfishly thinking, oh man, that sucks for me. Now I got to wear a condom potentially or whatever, or pull out method or whatever. Well, I'll tell you what, like maybe this is a great time for you to put some more energy and effort into the 45 minutes that lead up to the actual sex. And that's the foreplay, which most women care more about than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think so talk about strengths and weaknesses, like the last question. That sounds like probably a shitty situation for a lot of people, but I think it's only enhanced our sex life because of it.
Mm-hmm. Have you guys seen that? There was a picture at some clinic. It was like Planned Parenthood or something. And it said for family planning, please use rear entrance. And it was talking about the back of the building, but it's just
That's so great.
it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next question is from 1978 HW. What exactly is roid rage? Is this a real phenomenon that is experienced with steroid use? Does it depend on dose and duration of use? Adam, did you experience this?
Right. Specifically.
He was more of a jerk when he went off.
Right. I think this is such a funny question because, or not funny, but I think it's a very common question. A lot of people think that there's this correlation with rage and anger with steroids.
It's because testosterone is the aggression hormone, right?
Right.
And I remember how I was in my state when I was in my 20s. Like I had real anger problems, and then if I was to be somebody that was to use steroids on top of that, it might have been a volatile situation.
Sure.
But I was an asshole right then.
That's what I'm saying. And so I think that, if you're an asshole off steroids, you're an exaggerated asshole
right.
on steroids, and so that's really all it comes down to. So if you're somebody who would normally snap at a driver anyways, flip them off, well, now you're the guy that might get out of his car and actually chase the car
Probably because
down.
you're bigger.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, I think a lot of people that probably do the quote unquote road rage or what we call road rage. Roid
rage.
Roid rage.
Road rage.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Roid rage.
Yeah, sometimes connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying.
Well, yeah, I think that a lot of times I think that the people, I think they're just assholes in general, and they would have been that. There would have been that,
agreed.
right?
There's aggression is actually correlated with low testosterone levels. Believe it or not, when men's testosterone levels are really low, they find more irritability.
Really?
Yeah, higher levels of irritability, I should say.
Oh, yeah.
Now, high testosterone levels are associated with.
I would argue that,
Yeah.
though, for sure. Something that I do notice, and I will admit, okay, and I know that's probably why this person asked this question is
Less empathy.
when I was in the tank, testosterone wise, dude, I felt the closest I ever felt like of being feminine.
Oh, I see what you're
With
saying.
empathy, like you're saying. And I mean, I would watch commercials on TV that would make me emotional. That never happened in my life. And I was very.
Did you feel like your emotions were more up and down in that sense?
No, not necessarily. I was very easy. I'm more easygoing. I definitely am. Like I'm probably much easier to deal with. I'm more. Katrina would probably tell you I'm more cuddly. I'm not wanting to have sex more. My libido's not there, but I'm definitely, I think, less aggressive. But even me at the most aggressive still isn't an asshole, right? So I'm giving you my range of being able to tell that. So you definitely being on testosterone exaggerates that.
And you know where it came from? Roid rage came from lawyers defending their clients from doing crazy shit. Yeah. So it's like, my client
blaming on the drugs.
Yeah, my client killed his wife or whatever. He went into an uncontrollable rage caused by his testosterone and steroid usage.
That was in that Tim Lambesis case.
Yeah,
I
bullshit.
brought up that one
No,
time.
it's absolute bullshit. That's
They
not
blamed
true.
it with that. Remember that Chris Benoit when he killed? Was it Chris Benoit or Chris whoever killed his wife and kids and then shot himself?
Bertil Fox, old school bodybuilder.
Yeah, they blamed that all on steroids. But they did a documentary on him, and then you find out all the pills and shit that he was taking.
And they blame it on steroids.
Yeah.
No. Here's the deal. Like,
throw CTE in there as well.
Is testosterone connected to aggression? Yes. This is why men tend to be more aggressive than women. Is it tied to us going into a blind and controllable schizophrenic type rage? No, it's not. And like I said, studies show that when men's levels of testosterone, when men's testosterone levels are in the upper range of normal, they tend to feel greater confidence and more well-being and more balance in their emotions. When testosterone levels are low, irritability tends to go up, feeling emotional tends to go up, and depression tends to go up. So I don't think that that's the case. Now, here's the problem. The problem is we don't have a lot of studies on people taking some of the ridiculous doses of testosterone that bodybuilders would take. So we really don't know too much. But that being said, testosterone is a relatively safe hormone to take at those crazy levels. I don't know too many hormones that you could take 10,000% of and have kind of minimal side effect. Like if I injected you with estrogen 10,000 times higher than your normal estrogen levels, you're going to have some fucking problems. We do that insulin, you're going to die.
You can get some titties.
You do that with testosterone and you're not going to get these crazy, you'll get some side effects, but you're not going to get, it's not going to kill you. So it's kind of an excuse. And here's the problem. There's a lot of bad examples of guys on steroids behaving badly, but it's because a lot of the guys that go on steroids for long periods of time,
egomaniacs already.
They're insecure.
Right. Yeah.
It's
our test subjects are bad examples.
They're bad examples.
That's why I do like to share about this because I remember being 25 years old and tons of testosterone running through me. It's synthetically, and being in a bar and inebriated. I'm drunk now too, and thinking like, oh, I hope that guy fucking says some shit to me.
Say something.
Yeah, I hope he says some shit to me.
Look at me.
And
because you weren't as secure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so, but even then, it didn't cause me to go out and fight or go do those things. But, and I think some of that is being insecure, young, building all this strength that you never had before. And the animals that we are wanting to test that strength, want to feel what that real world strength is like. I think there's that animal in us. And I think that exaggerates it when you're, but I definitely do not think that it would. I never felt myself taking an injection and then
get into a blind rage,
and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I want to fight somebody.
I just picture like Arnold in Total Recall. Where he's like,
No, testosterone is connected to impulsive behavior. It's connected to drive and motivation and ambition in some cases. But not to rage to the point where you can get, it's actually like, it's not my fault that what I did. It's the testosterone that I took. Not true at all. Can it make men more potentially aggressive? Yes, but you remember, aggression isn't a bad thing. It depends how you use it. Like, I can be more aggressive and it will make me more driven at my job. I could be more aggressive and get up and be like, you know what? I'm going to go clean the fucking garage.
More things.
Yeah, I'm going to go fix this thing. That's what aggression really is. There's a bad side of aggression too, where I want to hurt people and do that kind of stuff. But that's the bad side of aggression regardless. And I don't think it increases that. That either exists in you or it doesn't. You're either that kind of person or you're not. And again, if you're a really insecure person and now you take steroids and you gain 50 pounds of muscle, the guys that start shit in bars and want to fight everybody, the reason why they're doing that is not because they're confident. Yeah, they're not confident dudes. Nope. Those are insecure dudes wanting to test themselves. I tell you what, I've hung out with a lot of actual good fighters, like MMA fighters who really train all the time. Most humble fuckers you ever.
Oh, they're not looking for it.
No, they're not. They're humble, man. They know.
They proved it.
And a lot of them have taken plenty of testosterone too.
Exactly. So no, I don't think that's the case whatsoever. So check this out. If you go to mindpumpfree.com, you can download any of our free guides. The newest guide is how to squat like a pro.
Oh, snap.
We just released it. Again, anybody can download it. You can download all of them. It's at mindpumpfree.com.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.